Alright, hello guys. Today I'll be talking to you about my research project, which is on sustainable clothing. So my problem statement was the fashion industry is always growing, which leads to more and more production of clothing. The overproduction of clothing is bad for the environment because people are constantly throwing out old clothes. More and more brands are moving toward more sustainable production practices, like recycling old clothes to make their new products. So my research question was, how does sustainability affect a brand's marketing, and what are the different ways that a brand can be sustainable? So I wanted to look at both sides of it, just what are methods that brands can be sustainable, and then how can they kind of intertwine that with the way they sell their clothes. So these are the key phases. First, my hypothesis. I believe that the only solution to the problem is for brands to produce less clothing and doing things like pre-orders, so that just there's less waste in clothes. I also assume that any brand that practices sustainability would make sure that it's part of their marketing and make sure that it's known, because that's something that a lot of people look for now. I did some research, and especially in the past 5 years, there's been a big push to be more sustainable and produce more ethically. So they spend more money on producing clothing because, I don't know, we're not trying to do it as cheaply nowadays. This project is really significant because people are always trying to buy new clothes. It's kind of never ending. So if there's a way to do it that's where you can recycle old clothes, that is kind of the goal. And then my conclusion, sustainability doesn't just have to be environmental stewardship, but also a branding strategy. So brands can use it to their advantage at the same time. So first of all, I did a lot of research and I kind of found out what other brands do to be sustainable. And then I looked at different statistics. There's pretty much no brands that are 100% sustainable, but there are brands that are kind of leading the charge, like Patagonia. They do a lot of recycling of their old clothes to make new. And then my analysis, I can make a sustainable brand by reusing clothes instead of recycling. So I wanted to make my own brand, and it's not very possible for me to actually recycle clothes and completely take them apart and make something new. So instead, I just decided to thrift clothes and then print my logos on top of that, so that I wouldn't be producing new and like going to a manufacturer and getting new clothes. Okay, so this is my brand. I just called it Research Project because that's what the project was to start with. So at first I put the little asterisks there just as a temporary thing, but then when I decided that this was actually the name, that's what I landed on. So I kind of just screen printed my logo onto clothes like that I already owned. I made a magazine for it, for my brand. I made an Instagram account. This whole process took me over a month. But yeah, I did a lot of things in just about a 1 month span. So this is kind of like the first stage. This was a sweatshirt that I already owned, and then I just printed over top of it to make it a little more visually interesting. So this is the screen printing process. And then next, I took photos of the clothes. Found a cool room with white painted all over it. Then I made an Instagram. So I kind of wanted it to look a little bit like a mood board and not like I was actively trying to sell the product, but just what it looks like in daily life. This was just kind of like keywords and things that I was thinking of when trying to make the brand. And then I started trying to make a magazine. So these are all different ideas I had. None of these are the ones that I landed on, but they all look very similar to the magazine that I made. And this was just original sketching and ideas. So yeah, this is my completed magazine. There's lots of small details, and I kind of split it up into the research portion of the project, and then based on my research, what I actually did. And then further research, I would love to continue doing my research with this project on a larger scale to see if people would really buy, because I got a lot of positive feedback, but I haven't actually made enough to start selling. So it'd be fun to do more and actually start selling clothes. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Okay. So Jacob, thanks for the presentation. Really appreciate it. Couple of questions. In the literature portion of it, you found a couple of documents or reports about sustainable clothing. Could you give us a couple of references to that, and what did you find within the research?
I can try and find you the exact articles. I don't have them in here. I kind of simplified everything, but
Okay.
they mentioned a lot about pre-existing brands and how they do it. But a lot of those seemed a little bit too large of a scale and too much for this project in particular, because I only started working on it for about a month or two, doing my actual version. So I kind of had to make a simplified version of what I found from the research.
Okay. And then when it comes to sustainability, what's been you mentioned there has been some reaction, but just can you give us a couple examples of what has been the reaction of the brand, just from the small exposure that you've given it?
Well, I've gotten a lot of people. Well, I mean, I had a video in chapel a couple weeks ago, and I've had probably, I don't know the exact number, but over 10 people at least who have said that they would be interested in buying. So I don't know. It's still, I don't know if it's just being nice, but I think there's definitely some interest in buying.
Awesome. And then last question, with the Instagram account, you have some following, and how's been that growth so far?
Well, since I haven't actually tried to sell anything, I haven't shouted out my account yet.
Okay.
And I don't know. I just haven't done too much with that because I'm not actually selling anything yet. But if I was planning to produce a lot more, then I would definitely shout it out. So right now it has 7 followers. I'm sure that could easily get to at least 50 or 100 pretty quickly, in less than a week.
Cool.
If I wanted it to.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Very cool. All right. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you.